Hey everybody, welcome back. I decided to get out of the office for a bit and come here to this really nice part right next to Lake Michigan, just outside of Chicago. Here's a really good view of it from right here. You can see the lake. So I figured let's give it a shot. For this review, I'm looking at a piece called Flying into the Horizon by Ming-Sho Yen. It's a piece written in 2012 and commissioned by the Taipei National University of the Arts, the orchestra of which is performing in the recording you're hearing now, which is available on SoundCloud. It's a fantastic piece and one that, if you're getting into this and you're liking how we're pushing the idea of form, how we are changing the definition not only of what a melody is, but how melodies interact with each other, you're going to love this piece. Flying into the Horizon was inspired by Miss Yen's time spent in Taipei's Guangdu area, where she was observing birds, particularly swallows, who were settling there for the summer and spring. And so you can hear this. You can hear the inspiration of what it's like to sit and just watch a flock of birds for a good long time, not just 10 minutes or an hour, but for months at a time, and you can see how they interact. One of the first things that I noticed about the opening part was how you get this sense of conversations. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of back and forth. You hear something in one section of the orchestra, and then another section of the orchestra says kind of the same thing and then kind of goes off in its own version. To me, it sounded like a conversation at a party. And the whole opening sounds that way. And it kind of gives you the sense, the way you hear different things happening, as if you're kind of floating around the party and you're hearing different conversations happening, and you kind of stop into this conversation, you hear what they're saying, there's a little back and forth. Stop over here, there's a little back and forth. And the cool part is the rhythmic precision that you need with the orchestra is so precise and pretty demanding, because they'll have something going and then immediately something else comes in and then it goes back and forth. So you have to be, you play that part and then you stop, because if you play anything extra, it crosses over into the next person, the next section's part, and you don't want that. So you hear that da-da-da, dee-da-da-da, 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 dee-da-da-da. It's really, really neat. And it's interesting that there's this phenomenon in this piece, because it reminded me of this part of this movie, this Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier movie back in the 90s, I think it is, called Sneakers. And they actually mistake this, what they think was a conversation of people, a group of people talking, with what actually was a flock of birds.
They threw me in a trunk, drove around in circles. It could be 100 miles away. It could be next door. It could be underground. It could be in a skyrise.
The road. When you were in the trunk, what did the road sound like?
Highway, a regular highway.
Did you go over any speed bumps? How about a bridge?
Bridge. Yeah.
What did it sound like?
Lower.
And then what did you hear?
Drove through what sounded like a cocktail party. It was chattering. It was right at the end.
Get off at the reservoir. Very good, Bish. Remind me to make you an honorary blind person.
Great.
Now, around the 3-minute mark, after a lot of this stuff is happening, it starts to kind of mellow out, and we keep the intensity going, but it turns into this really lush, more chordal section. And again, you still have that full momentum, you still have this tension, but it comes as more of a bigger block of sound, and the orchestra more together than with just these pieces happening. And then slowly you start to, after a couple minutes in that, you start to hear a little bit of that chatter again, and it starts to add in these rhythms. So when you think about the idea of what this is, you can kind of hear how sometimes there's a lot of birds talking, and then it kind of all settles, and then maybe you have a couple little things happening, but then it kind of kicks up and starts up again. And yes, sometimes they're overlapping, but because this is music and we can have a little bit more control, we can isolate those. So we can give each one a bit of time. And instead of playing or hearing it right over each other, we can move it over a bit and give each little bit its own time and space to breathe and to hear. Now when we get to the 8th minute, we get back to that first section, what we call an ABA form. And from there, you're not that far from the end because the piece is less than 13 minutes long. So as you're getting to the end, you start to hear it kind of fade out, almost as if it's the end of the season and they're going to start leaving. And it kind of fades. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, it's the end of the season, the birds are leaving, and you kind of hear them in the distance. They're just, the chirping becomes a little more sporadic, and then the ending comes. And I'm not going to spoil it, but totally worth the wait. So when you have some time, sit back, relax, and click over to SoundCloud to listen to Ming Shoyan's Flight into the Horizon. As always, thank you again for your support for the National Contemporary Orchestra. Take a moment and click over and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube, where you can see all these videos and all the past repertoire review videos. And get ready, because we got some really cool stuff coming up later this year. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the performance. Thanks. Bye-bye.